Coming to paperback and e-readers, from the author of the critically acclaimed book The Man Crisis comes The Woman Crisis. Learn why so many women are becoming lost in their quest to have it all in The Woman Crisis. Pre-order your copy of The Woman Crisis on Amazon.com today. There was a tragic mass stabbing incident in Las Vegas where two people sadly lost their lives and six others were injured. And in this incident, it is alleged that 32-year-old Yoni Barrios, an immigrant from Guatemala, allegedly stabbed these people on the Las Vegas Strip because he was looking to let the anger out. Now, the police see this as an isolated incident, but when I take a critical examination of the alleged behavior of Yoni Barrios, it fits right in line with the pattern and profile for beta males that I talk about in my book, The Man Crisis. And from reports, your Yoni Barrios seemed like a ticking time bomb because he was upset about the fact that his rose-colored reality as related to America wound up becoming completely shattered. Now, I believe that your Yoni Barrios had been told a lot of stories about America and had this American dream that he had imagined as he came here from Guatemala, and he was hoping to go out here and live this American dream. Unfortunately, as he came to America, his rose-colored ideas about coming here and getting a better life were completely shattered when he tried to go here and stay with a friend in California. And I believe it was that being told by that friend in California that he couldn't stay with him that wound up being the thing that lit the fuse as related to this beta male's ticking time bomb, and this is what possibly was the thing that led to him exploding in a rage. Now, after being told that he could not stay with the friend in California, your Yoni Barrios then went and got on a bus and went to Las Vegas. And after he got on that bus, he decided to take another bus to the hotel, the Wynn Hotel, and as he went to the entrance of the Wynn Hotel, he then decided to go out here and approach some showgirls and try to sell them on him being a chef, and then ask them if they would take a picture with him with his knife. Now, I believe that your Yoni Barrios was already angry about being told that he couldn't stay with his friend in California, and he was hoping that he would go out here and make an impression on these girls. And he thought, oh, I'm going to go to Vegas, make an impression on these showgirls, not understanding that most showgirls are extremely indifferent to most men because they get hit on practically every day. But when you're dealing with a simp, they're thinking, oh, I'm this chef. But chefs are a dime a dozen when it comes down to hotels like those in Vegas, such as the Wynn. So when many of those women were listening to this guy acting like he was a big shot, they basically saw another simp in front of them, and some of the showgirls started laughing at him and making fun of his clothing. And I believe this compounded with being rejected and having his whole perception of America shattered. This was a thing that led to the fuse that had already been lit in California finally exploding in this rage, and that rage was the thing that led to your Yoni Barrios allegedly going out here and participating in this extreme act of violence where he looked to go out here and participate in this stabbing spree. Because after being laughed at by those showgirls who he was trying to impress, he then went out here and then stabbed one young showgirl and then stabbed another 47-year-old man in the back. And again, he stabbed and took the lives, allegedly, of two people and six others. And as he was participating in this stabbing spree, allegedly, he was said to have said, "Sorry, man." And what happened when he said this was he basically proved that his murder spree was not something done out of being something mentally ill. It was something that was done with malice aforethought. And it was done as part of malice aforethought because this man was angry that his perceptions of America had become completely shattered. His American dream had been completely shattered. And because his world as he saw it was being destroyed, he wanted to go out here and destroy the world around him. Now, there were indicators that this man was a man in crisis just before he participated in the stabbing, because he was out here saying that he wanted to sell his cooking knives in order to get back to Guatemala. Again, showing us that there was some sort of desperation before the malice aforethought, but showing us that this man was extremely frustrated because he wanted to come to America and hope to be a cook in one of these restaurants, but really not understanding how the process works as related to getting work in the food service industry. Now, he came here from Guatemala saying he was an alleged chef, but the whole thing is he didn't understand how the process worked as related to getting a job here in America, and he had big plans for coming here because he had probably been hearing from friends about how it was easy to get jobs here in America, but didn't really understand how to lay out your plans as related to where you're going to stay and what direction you're going to go in. Now, he did all this before he could even go to approach the managers in that restaurant or that hotel restaurant, but I believe he really didn't have any way of getting a job in that hotel restaurant, and that was one of the things that probably frustrated him because he had his heart set on California and making it in California and possibly one of the Spanish restaurants, and he then was being told, "Oh, you should go to Las Vegas and go to the Wynn, where there's a completely different hiring process for chefs, because before you can get a job in one of those hotel restaurants as a chef or any sort of cook, you again have to have a background and a reputation, and that's just to be a line cook in one of those restaurants. I mean, just to work at one of the stations in the brigade, you have to usually, one, know somebody who's working in that restaurant, and two, you have to know somebody with connections to the head chef who can get you in. And when it comes down to these hotel restaurants, usually, and if they're big time hotel restaurants, they're going to want to know what your background is. So basically, this man knew that he was up Crap Creek without a paddle, because if you go talk to one of these managers and their head chefs, they're going to want to know what your background is. They're going to want to know what your references are. They're going to want to know where your whole skill set is coming from before they even talk to you, because they want to know if you're going to be able to follow orders and follow the authority of the head chef. But this beta male, because he showed that he was losing control of himself based on just being told no as related to a dude telling him he couldn't stay with him, this guy possibly just showed us that he would not be fit for working the line at a place like the Wynn or any of these other restaurants, because if you can't navigate through your emotions and be able to work through your feelings, you're not going to be able to work on a place like the line in a restaurant, and you're not going to be able to work on a line because you're not going to be able to understand that when the head chef usually tells you something, and the head chef has this is usually a male authority figure, you're gonna not gonna respect his authority as a man, and that's gonna cause all sorts of friction on the line. So this guy basically he was living in the rose-colored reality of I'm gonna come to America, I'm gonna try to be a chef, but he didn't really have any sort of logistics as related to making his move. And once his big idea of staying with somebody fell apart, that's what made him wind up falling apart, because he didn't have a backup contingency plan. And once he didn't have that backup contingency plan, this man became a man in crisis, and that man in crisis wound up participating in an extreme act of violence, which basically proved the point that your gun control laws aren't the issue to dealing with violent crime, because this beta male basically took out kitchen knives and turned them into weapons once his life didn't go the way he expected. So many politicians, they want to say we need gun control laws to deal with things like mass shootings, but this incident and several others show us that this is not a gun issue. No, this is a beta male issue, and this has to do with the way we are raising boys to become men, because the way we're raising boys to become men are creating these male ticking time bombs, and these male ticking time bombs, when their life doesn't go the way they expect and their smooth world becomes rough, what these men do is a fuse gets lit under them, and eventually these men wind up exploding in rage. And when they explode in rage, there are cases where they can go out here and participate in the most extreme acts of violence, like this individual wound up participating in. And that again shows that, again, this is not has nothing to do with guns, and that these individuals will take anything and use it as a weapon. So there are many in the left political scene who will sit there and say, oh, we need gun control laws to stop mass shootings. Well, this individual, if he possibly had a firearm, he would have participated in a mass shooting, because life didn't go his way. But the whole thing is, he had another weapon, and that's what makes these guys dangerous, is the mindset that they have. That's what makes these individuals extremely dangerous, because they don't have a good perception of reality. They don't have a good perception as related to life, and they don't really understand how to navigate through their emotions, and understanding that yes, you have feelings about things, but you can't act on those feelings. And many of these men, again, they don't really know how to function in life, like this individual did. And once they run into a major setback, that's when these guys basically lose it, and that's when they start falling apart. And when they believe their world is destroyed, then they look to destroy the lives of others, like the young woman who wound up being stabbed in the back, and the 47-year-old man who wound up losing his life as this male wound up participating in this stabbing spree. Now, this individual, after participating in these crimes, it said that he was doing it to let the anger out. And as he was looking to let the anger out and trying to, again, express his feelings in rage, he never really thought much about the consequences of his actions. And because he didn't think about the consequences of his actions, he didn't understand that, okay, you got your feelings out, now you're going to have to deal with the consequences of those actions. And since he again allegedly took the lives of these individuals, he is now going to be doing the rest of his life here in an American prison, and his American dream is going to turn into an American nightmare, as he's going to have to be dealing with Bubba Tiny, and Roscoe inside of a Nevada penitentiary. And these Bubba, Tiny, and Roscoe are going to be trading that booty for your American commissary delicacies like Little Debbie snack cakes, six-pack Oreo cookies, Crystal Light tubes, your Fritos chips, your ramen noodles. I mean, he is going to be traded for all of those commissary delicacies like your Kit Kat candy bars, cups of coffee, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle pies. I mean, he is going to be learning all about the art of your prison commissary, and he's going to have to sit there and endure the horrors of that prison food, which is only one step away from raw sewage. And that is all because this male really just went out here not understanding the most important intangible of manhood is your freedom. And your freedom is one thing you don't want to wind up sacrificing because you get in your feelings. Because your freedom is the most important intangible of manhood that you have next to your own life. And you should never go out here and act in a way that jeopardizes your freedom, because even though things are hard in this life, you cannot go out here and act impulsively and cost yourself your freedom, because once you lose your freedom, in a lot of cases, it may be years before you get it back. And in this case, this guy has basically lost his freedom for the rest of his life. And again, that's what happens when you are a beta male and you're acting impulsively. You don't really think about the long-term consequences of your actions, and those actions you take wind up not only hurting the lives of others, but it winds up putting your life in jeopardy. And this whole case, again, shows me that the man crisis is getting worse here in America, and it's getting worse all across the globe, because we're seeing an increase in frequency of this kind of violence, and we're seeing an increase in frequency of this violence. And what's worse is we're seeing that these individuals don't need a gun to go out here and do harm to others. No, these individuals will basically take anything and turn it into a weapon to destroy the lives of others, because they believe that their world is destroyed, and since their world is destroyed, they have a right to destroy the worlds of others. So that's what makes these beta males extremely dangerous individuals. And the scary part is that this individual is just the tip of the iceberg as related to these types of incidents. And most people, again, like the Las Vegas police, see this as an isolated incident. But when you start connecting the dots as related to these incidents, you see that possibly there is one common denominator, and that is the fact that many of these males were raised in single mother households. And because these individuals were raised in single mother households, this is why these males wind up behaving in these kinds of behaviors. So when I look at this whole situation and I look at the big picture of it, I see a man in crisis who immigrated to this country and brought his dysfunction to America, and that tragically led to the deaths of two people. But most Americans, again, will see these as isolated incidents, not understanding that this is part of a larger pattern of behavior due to the way we have been taught across the globe to raise boys to become men. And what we're seeing now is a large population of these males self-destructing all across the globe, and many of them are self-destructing because they were not taught proper male life skills, not taught proper male survival skills, and do not know how to function in the world. And when they go out in the world and try to go out here and do something as simple or as getting a job, when things don't go their way, they go up to again take the lives of others and destroy their lives because they again do not want to just because they feel like their dreams have been shattered, not understanding that it's going to take perseverance to get somewhere because that's a male life skill. They're not taught that they're going to have to go out here and keep trying. They will expect everything to come out in an instant and simplified way, but that's not the way it works in the real world. And again, because this man couldn't deal with the real world, this man in crisis created some carnage on the Las Vegas Strip, and this led to a lot of people suffering as a result of him not knowing how to function in the real world. Now, if you want to learn more about the dysfunctional behaviors of beta males and why they participate in these behaviors, you can pick up my book, The Man Crisis, on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find The Man Crisis on Smashwords, the iBook Store, and Google Play. And if you want to see me make more men's issues videos like this, you can donate to my Patreon, my PayPal, or my Cash App by clicking the link in the description box. That's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe. Now available in paperback and Kindle Unlimited, The Man Crisis. Learn why so many men are struggling to find their way in an increasingly gynocentric world in The Man Crisis. Get your copy of The Man Crisis in paperback and Kindle Unlimited today.